educational systems across this country are so out of control. You want to just tear them down and start all over with some common sense people and just getting back to the basics.
Here's a sign that was put up in a parking lot in Duluth, Minnesota. It says First Amendment Zone. This is happening in different parts of the country. What is happening is that some street preachers that were a little bit obnoxious during their winter festival, and they put up these signs saying, here's where you can practice your First Amendment freedom, but you can't come over where all the other people are at and practice your First Amendment freedom. Now, when it went to court, thankfully, this one was said the city was wrong. But more and more cities and organizations are trying to pass a type of legislation that says, here's where you can practice your First Amendment freedom, here's where you cannot. And if we get more liberal judges appointed, this is going to pass.
Well, right now, really the only control people have are at the local and state level, and they need to start focusing and becoming active and standing up and speaking up, because that's the only thing that's going to stop it.
Absolutely. Now, in Omaha, I've been focusing on this First Amendment issue. Now we have some legislation coming at the state level that began with LR 478, which was where the Judiciary Committee did hearings as to whether the state civil rights statute should be expanded to include LGBT. Okay?
Okay.
Now, when the gay groups talk about their rights, they're not talking about First Amendment rights like we are.
Right.
They're talking about 1964 Civil Rights Acts. So basically it would be expanded as a 1964 Civil Rights Act on the state level. If that is passed, are you ready? Can you imagine quotas for gays, affirmative action for gays?
Yes, yes, I can see it. I can see it happening.
That's where it will go. That's exactly where it will go. And so what I'm asking for is that we as in the churches, my role, I feel, is to try and get the church people out of the church pew and standing up for their religious freedoms before they're lost.
That's right. And that is what has got to take place, Dave. And I say that on so many issues. And, you know, luckily we have public access channel like this where we can get on here and educate the people and give them a full picture of the situations as they come out and tell them how to get involved.
Well, to give you one more illustration, I think it was important. We were doing this petition that Patrick talked about, and we've been working on this petition to try and reverse the ordinance. We had businesses that wanted to put the petition in their business for people to sign, but they were told that if they put the petition out, that they were creating a hostile work environment.
And the businesses acquiesced to that?
Many of them did, or they're afraid. What's important to understand here, and I studied this in Canada with their hate speech laws, when you talk to people, there's usually a lot of confusion. And I found out that confusion is intentional. The average person knows right from wrong. But if they're confused about what is legal or illegal, they hesitate.
Right, yeah, I can see that. Well, and then, of course, the prospect of a business being sued for simply having a petition out there.
Or if a person puts a Bible verse on their cubicle, or some sign like that, they can be accused of that's a hostile work environment. See, and the same thing extends into the public.
Well, you heard about the teacher here in New York, and this just happened recently, where she was told to either remove her prayer box that she had in her class, or be fired. And they went so far as to asking her to no longer participate in the Bible study club. But yet, a social worker in that same school can have the homosexual community posters and advocates, posters and pictures up all over her office, and that's all right.
All over the United States, on university campuses, Christian organizations, and there's all kinds of examples of this, are being told that unless they change the position of their leaders or of their organization, they're not allowed to be a student group on the campus. And so they're saying, listen, you're too religious. You can't have those religious people in your organization if you're going to be a student group on our campus.
Wow.
And they're being told that.
Do you hear what the man is telling us? Did you know that this is going on? How do we know what is going on within our own school districts?
Absolutely. Well, I feel that the battle is also battled on a natural level, but also on a spiritual level. When we won the first time in 2010, when the ordinance came by, we had an attorney from the Alliance Defense Fund that told me personally, he said, Dave, he says, you're probably going to lose in the next round. And part of it was we need to prepare, but also he says because of our own high divorce rate in the church, our own lack of morality, when we are not being righteous ourselves, when we're not living our faith, it compromises us. And when we begin to speak out, we feel shame. And so I feel that right now there's a need among the church to wake up and become a moral voice, because I believe there's many in our government, even in our world, is saying, church, we need you to start being the church. Start showing us that it works or it doesn't work. And I've been doing that. I have been on the sites of over 240 homicide sites leading prayer walks in this city in the last 5 years. I'm out there trying to make a difference. And I separate that from this a bit, but we have to get the church outside the walls. You know, there's an old Bible story about Sodom and Gomorrah being destroyed, and usually people, you talk about being homosexuality is why God destroyed it. The reality is that God ultimately did not destroy Sodom and Gomorrah because of homosexuality. He ultimately sent judgment on it because he could not find enough righteous people there. And so I'm saying to the church, the future of our nation is in our hands. Are we going to rise up and start being a righteous church in our nation again? Are we going to start standing up and being what we know this nation was built upon? And that's my call, is calling us back to righteousness, to being honest about our own sins, our own shortcomings, getting them right, and then getting out there and starting to speak the truth. This is a truth issue, and we need to be able to speak the truth and not be ashamed.
Okay, now Dave, I want to check with you on something. Now, I think it was Grand Island who passed a similar ordinance, but our Attorney General, John Bruning, came out with an opinion that the cities do not have the authority or something, and right. I didn't have time to recall that article up. Do you know what I'm talking about?
We have that opinion on our website from him regarding us also.
Okay.
And the city, he stated that he believes the cities were exceeding their
authority.
Their authority. That's going to probably have to be tested in court. The city is defying that. The Lincoln City Council, even though we had a petition, I was part of that, to reverse the ordinance, they're just refusing to deal with it. They're making us go to court. They're challenging challenges in court.
Well, that's the way it is with almost anything anymore. You know, if you disagree with it, you have a different opinion from it, you know, call the other side names and make them take you to court, you know.
Now, I'll maybe wrap up with this comment. If I have a friend that I care about, and I see them self-destructing on drugs or alcohol, and I go and confront them, I said, listen, you're destroying yourself. This is going to destroy you. My friend can look at me and say, you know, it's not going to destroy me. I don't agree with you. But he can't accuse me of operating out of hate.
Right.
You see?
Right.
He can't accuse me of operating out of hate. Now, if I believe that a certain lifestyle is destructive, you have the right to disagree with me. You can tell me I'm wrong. Yeah. But don't tell me I'm filled with hate when I'm saying, listen, I'm trying to warn you, this is harmful to you.
Right. Right. Dave, great job. Why don't you tell us what your website is for the Liberty Project?
Well, it's Nebraska Heritage Coalition.org, and you just type in Omaha Liberty Project, you'll go to our page on the Nebraska Heritage.
So if you search the Nebraska Heritage Coalition,
or the Omaha Liberty Project.
Or the Omaha Liberty Project. Okay, so if you Google search that, and then of course I'll have these links up on my website as well. Well, Dave, thank you again for being here. Just stay here for me while I close the show out. You know, these are very serious issues, and one of the things that I'm just so tired of hearing is that people who disagree with the liberal socialist agenda, we are called hate mongers, we are called the mob mentality, we are called homophobes and jihadist phobes and Muslim phobes and everything else. I'm just tired of it. We can all agree to disagree without broad brushing, broad painting anyone else. To say that another individual's agenda is solely out of hatred because somebody is different from them, it's just nonsense. You know, and you know it's nonsense when you do it, because that's why you're doing it. You're hoping that the other concerned citizens or taxpayers will stay clear if you just call them the hate mongers or the homophobes or whatever it may be. We've had a great show tonight. We've had a great lineup of guests, and I want to thank Patrick Bonnet, again, the founder of the Conservative Coalition of Nebraska, currently serving as the executive director for the Omaha Liberty Project, Brian Kanenkirk from Mass Resistance, here from Massachusetts, and Dave Gehryls, steering committee member of the Omaha Liberty Project. Thank you, guests, for being here. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Next week, sizzle time, because I'm going to be talking about the mayor's race, Virgil Patlin, Brad Ashford. We're going to be doing some opposing and exposing of legislation and candidates. Tune in next week. Thanks for joining me.